The harbor shimmered under a bright summer sky, golden sunbeams dancing on the waves. A younger Marina Wells, barely 17, stood at the edge of the dock, her arms wrapped around her sketchbook, her eyes locked on the vessel preparing to depart. The Ocean Dream, sleek, proud, and weather-worn, bobbed gently in its berth. Captain Elias Wells, her father, strode the deck in his navy coat, giving commands with a calm authority that made his crew hustle with precision. His beard caught the light, and his eyes, deep sea-glass green, searched the dock until they found hers. "Back before Friday," he called, tipping his cap with a grin. "We'll bring you back a shell from the midnight reef." Marina forced a smile, her fingers digging into her sketchbook. "You better," she called back. "I'm holding you to it." He laughed, then turned to his crew. The engine roared to life, seagulls scattering into the sky. The Ocean Dream pulled away from the dock, slipping out of the harbor like a ghost into the morning sun. Marina watched until the mast was just a line against the horizon. She stood there long after everyone else had left. Her mother appeared beside her eventually, silent, arms crossed tightly across her chest. The woman said nothing, only watched with the same tension etched in her features. That night, a storm came. Sudden, brutal. The kind that snarled without warning and snapped the sea into chaos. Marina sat by the window, heart pounding, watching the wind lash the coast and lightning slash the sky. No word came. Then days passed. Marina turned from the photo and walked to the shelf. She took down her sketchbook. Its cover was faded, the pages inside mostly blank. She traced a finger along its edge, as if the stories within might speak up after all these years. Then, she moved with sudden purpose. She packed the book in her canvas bag, pulled on a jacket, and slipped her feet into her old boots. As she stood at the door, her hand hovered on the knob. She looked back once at the photo, then opened the door and stepped out. The sea breeze met her like an old friend, and a warning. She didn't know what waited at the old dock, but she was done hiding. If the Ocean Dream had returned, she would be there. The old dock, just before sunset. Fog curling in from the sea. The old dock hadn't changed. Time had weathered its planks, but the bones of it remained. Gray wood, rusting rails, the scent of salt and damp rope thick in the air. Marina approached slowly, her boots clicking on the boards as gulls cried above. The place was abandoned now, used only by ghosts and memory. She stopped halfway down the dock, eyes scanning the shoreline. The fog was moving in fast, low and heavy, swallowing the far end of the pier. Her fingers tightened around her bag. The wind shifted, colder now, whispering over the water. Then she saw him. A figure stood at the edge of the dock, near the last piling, unmoving. He wore a long coat, the collar turned up, and a battered cap pulled low. His posture was stiff, as if he were bracing against something unseen. Marina took a few cautious steps closer. "Hello?" The man turned slowly. His face came into view, lined and tired, sea-worn, gray beard, sunken cheeks. His eyes were sharp, almost too sharp for such a weathered frame. She stared, her breath catching in her throat. She knew that face, faintly, from a photo in an old album. "Jonas Bell?" she asked. The man nodded once. "But you're supposed to be dead. You were on the Ocean Dream." "I was," he said, his voice dry as driftwood. "Until 3 weeks ago." Marina took another step forward. "That's impossible. The ship vanished. The crew was never found. You were all gone?" He interrupted. "Not gone. Not really. Trapped." She stared at him, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. He turned and pointed toward the sea, where the fog swirled thick and unnatural. "The ship's coming back, Marina. Just like the letter said. The currents shifted again, every 19 years, like clockwork." You expect me to believe that? He looked at her, eyes gleaming with something far more terrifying than madness, certainty. Believe what you want, but your father's alive, still aboard that ship. Marina's knees weakened. She reached for the piling to steady herself. The ocean dream is caught in time, Jonas said. Somewhere between tides and years. But tonight, she surfaces. And if you want answers, you'll have to board her. The fog closed around them like a curtain. The shack was a crooked skeleton of driftwood and rusted nails, tucked between dunes, like it had washed ashore and decided to stay. Inside, the air was thick with salt and the smell of damp canvas. Oil lanterns lit the cramped space, casting flickering shadows on the walls, which were plastered with nautical charts, torn journals, and weathered photos of ships long sunk or forgotten. Marina stood in the middle of the room, her eyes scanning the chaos. Jonas shuffled to a low table and rolled out a map, one so old and stained that it looked like it had been pulled from the sea itself. This, he said, tapping a red X near the bottom corner of the map, is where the ocean dream breaks the surface, once every 19 years, like a clock running on tides instead of time. Marina leaned closer. The coordinates didn't match anything she recognized. Far off the shipping lanes, past any safe harbor. The place wasn't even labeled. Just white sea and a handwritten note beside the X, Phantom Trench. She looked up sharply. That trench isn't on any real map. No, Jonas replied, because it isn't always there. He moved to a crate in the corner and pulled out a bundle of papers, his old logbooks, torn pages marked with strange weather patterns, odd compass readings, stories of sea fogs that wouldn't lift, and stars that spun in circles. I tried to convince others, he muttered. Coast Guard, fishermen, scientists. No one believed me. Said I lost my mind when I came back. Maybe I did. But the truth is worse. We found something out there. Something that doesn't belong to this world. Marina felt the weight of the sketchbook in her bag, the way her heart beat faster with every word. And my father? Jonas's eyes softened. Still the captain. Still holding that ship together last I saw. Time moves differently out there. For him, maybe it's only been weeks. She took the map and stared at the X. The waves outside pounded harder, as if the ocean itself knew what she was thinking. Jonas stepped beside her. You've got till sunrise. After that, the opening closes. You miss it. You wait another 19 years. Marina looked out through the cracked window toward the dark sea. Her father, frozen in time, waiting. The truth buried in waves and fog. She folded the map carefully and placed it in her bag beside the sketchbook. Then I leave before midnight. The open sea, near midnight. A small rented boat cutting through dark waters. The wind had shifted. Marina guided the rented boat through heaving swells, the engine humming low like a held breath. The stars overhead were faint and scattered, as if reluctant to witness what lay ahead. She gripped the wheel with steady hands, the map from Jonas strapped to the dashboard with duct tape. It glowed under her flashlight, coordinates etched in the margins like blood marks on a battlefield. She was far from shore now, too far to turn back. The only sounds were the rhythmic slap of water against the hull and the occasional groan of the wind as it curled over the deck. The mist appeared like a wall. One moment, the sea was clear. The next, it wasn't. A sudden, dense veil of white descended, wrapping the boat in silence. Marina killed the engine. It coughed once, then went still. The waves quieted too, unnaturally so. She stood up, peering into the fog. Nothing. Then, movement, a shape, slow, rising. At first she thought it was a hallucination, a mirage born from memory and desperation. But no, it was there, solid, real. A ship emerged from the mist, spectral and massive, its hull worn but whole. The ocean dream. Lanterns flickered on its decks like stars through storm clouds. It floated motionless, like a relic resurrected. Marina's breath caught. Her hands trembled as she reached for the rope ladder hanging just above the waterline. She climbed, heart pounding with every rung, until her boots hit the deck with a soft thud. Silence. The wood beneath her was dry, untouched by time. She stepped forward. The ship groaned, not in protest, but in recognition. Then the fog thickened again, closing around the boat she had left behind, swallowing it whole. She was aboard. The ocean dream had taken her in. And now, whatever truths it carried, whatever ghosts walked its halls, were hers to face. Aboard the ocean dream. Midnight. Fog pressing against the rails like breath. The deck of the ocean dream creaked under Marina's feet. The air smelled faintly of salt, old wood, and something harder to place, something metallic, ancient, like rust and memory. Shadows shifted in the lantern light, and the mist pressed against the ship's sides like a living thing trying to squeeze back in. She walked slowly toward the helm, her boots echoing louder than they should. Everything felt too still. Then a whisper. It came from below, faint, like wind in the hull, but it carried a word, her name. She spun around. "Who's there?" No reply, just silence, thick and pressing. Then a door creaked open on the lower deck. Marina descended the stairs cautiously, lantern in hand. The passageways were tight, lined with ropes, tools, and photographs, faded images of the crew tacked to the walls like forgotten memories. She stopped at one. Her father's face stared back, younger than she remembered, his smile wide, his arm slung around Jonas Bell. The whisper came again. This time it became voices. She turned a corner and froze. The crew was there, not ghosts, at least not in the spectral floating sense. They looked real, solid, but they were wrong. Their clothes hadn't aged. Their skin was pale, untouched by time or sun. They moved slowly, like sleepwalkers caught in a dream they couldn't wake from. A man, tall, with sunken cheeks, looked up and met her gaze. His lips parted. "Marina?" she gasped. "You know me?" "It's her," another said. "Elias's girl." Then, from the far end of the hallway, a door opened. A man stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, his beard peppered with gray. His eyes met hers, and she knew instantly. "Dad." Captain Elias Wells stood in front of her, stunned. For a heartbeat, neither moved. Then he crossed the space and wrapped her in a tight, shaking embrace. His voice cracked. "You came. You actually came." She clung to him, the ache of 19 years collapsing into this one impossible moment. "I thought you were dead," she whispered. "We were," he said, "in every way but one." He pulled back, his face older now, eyes full of unspoken things. "The ship. It's trapped, Marina. Caught in a loop. The trench below us. It's a tear in time. Every 19 years, we resurface, but only for a single night. Then we vanish again." Marina stepped back, mind racing. "Then we need to break the loop." He nodded slowly. "If we're ever going home, tonight's our only chance." Below deck of the Ocean Dream, near the engine room. Early hours before dawn. The crew had gathered in hushed clusters, murmuring like monks in a chapel, eyes hollow with 19 years of suspended time. Marina followed her father down a narrow corridor that groaned with every step, the walls sweating with condensation. Pipes lined the ceiling, dripping slowly, like a leaky memory. At the end of the hall, a hatch waited. It looked older than the rest of the ship, reinforced with strange metal, etched with markings that didn't belong to any known language. Marina's hand brushed the cold surface. "This door wasn't here before," she said. Her father nodded. "It appeared after the third day, or what felt like the third day. Time behaves differently here." He reached into a crate and pulled out a weathered journal, his own. Inside were sketches, impossible sea patterns, symbols glowing under the hull, strange auroras in the deep, and always the trench. "The rift's directly beneath us," he said. "It opened without warning during our expedition. When we passed over it, something pulled us in. Not physically, temporally. We've been drifting ever since, looped into a tide that doesn't belong to our world." Marina opened the hatch. A deep, metallic hum pulsed from below, steady as a heartbeat. A chamber stretched beyond, filled with machinery, but not all of it was man-made. Cables fused with coral, rusted gears intertwined with bioluminescent veins, pulsing soft blue light. At the center, a hole, black, circular, spinning so slowly it was almost imperceptible. "The rift," she whispered. "It keeps us here," Elias said. "It feeds on memory, on time itself. We're its prisoners, and its fuel." Marina stepped closer. The pull wasn't physical, but she felt it in her mind, like her childhood was being slowly peeled away, one memory at a time. "How do we stop it?" "We've tried everything, explosives, abandoning ship. Nothing worked." She turned to him. "But you haven't had me before." He looked confused. She pulled the old sketchbook from her bag. "I've seen this place in dreams, for years, ever since the ship vanished. I thought I was haunted, but maybe I was being prepared." She opened the book. Inside were drawings, some she didn't remember making. One page showed the rift, but sealed. Another, a sigil, glowing from the ship's mast. Elias stared at it, wide-eyed. That mark. It appeared on the compass housing just before the rift pulled us in. She looked down at the rotating void. Then maybe that's the key. Maybe this ship isn't just caught in time. Maybe it's part of something older. A system. A lock. He stared at her, awe slowly dawning. "You think we can reverse it?" "I think I was meant to." Marina reached into the center of the floor, her fingers brushing the edge of the rift. Light sparked from her palm, blue like the veins in the walls. The chamber shuddered, and the ocean dream groaned, deeper than before, alive now. The ship's deck, just before dawn, the fog beginning to thin. The ship trembled beneath Marina's feet, a deep vibration that thrummed through every timber and bolt. The glow from below pulsed brighter, casting eerie blue light across the deck. The crew gathered silently, eyes fixed on the swirling rift beneath the hull. Marina stood at the helm beside her father, clutching the sketchbook tightly. She traced the glowing sigil etched on its pages, whispering the strange words she hadn't understood before, but now felt like a key turning inside her. The fog around the ship began to lift, the first pale light of dawn brushing the horizon. The rift pulsed faster, an angry heartbeat threatening to consume everything. Elias steadied her arm. "Ready, Marina?" She nodded. "Let's end this." Raising her hand, Marina reached toward the rift. Light burst from her palm, weaving a shimmering web that wrapped around the spinning void. The crew watched, breath held, as the swirling blackness began to contract, shrinking slowly under her touch. The ship groaned louder, creaking and twisting, but the pull of the rift weakened. Suddenly, a fierce wind ripped across the deck. The ship pitched violently, tossing Marina off balance. She grabbed a railing, her heart pounding. "Hold on!" her father shouted. The crew scrambled, bracing against the storm that erupted suddenly, the sky torn open with thunder and lightning. But Marina's light held steady, glowing brighter with each second. The rift shuddered, then gave one final pulse and snapped shut with a sound like a giant sigh. Silence. The storm vanished. The fog cleared completely, revealing the calm sea and the first warm rays of morning sun. Marina looked up. The ocean dream was still, anchored not in a ghostly mist, but in the real world, solid, real, and free. Her father smiled, tears in his eyes. "We're home." Around them, the crew began to stir, their faces warming as if waking from a long nightmare. Marina exhaled deeply, the weight of 19 years lifting from her shoulders. The ocean had kept its secrets long enough, and now the dream was over. Ellers Bay Harbor, early morning sunlight. The ocean dream sailed slowly into the familiar harbor, her sails full and proud under the golden morning sun. Seagulls wheeled overhead, their cries mingling with the gentle slap of waves against the hull. Marina stood at the bow, the sea breeze tugging at her hair. Beside her, Captain Elias Wells, the man who had been lost to time, stood steady, eyes scanning the shoreline. The small crowd on the docks grew as news spread. Fishermen, townsfolk, and old friends gathered, blinking in disbelief at the returning ghost ship. Whispers turned to cheers, tears flowed freely. Marina's mother appeared first, her frail frame silhouetted against the rising sun. Their eyes met, and in that moment, all the years of silence, pain, and waiting melted away. Marina stepped down the gangplank, heart pounding with a strange mixture of joy and disbelief. Her father followed, strong and steady, as though no time had passed at all. The reunion was quiet but profound, embraces that spoke louder than words, smiles that healed wounds deeper than any storm. The town slowly returned to life, the mystery of the vanished ship finally laid to rest. Marina looked out over the harbor, the waves glinting like shattered glass. The ocean had taken 19 years from her, but it had given back much more, a new beginning, and a dream fulfilled. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.